The MLS is consistently breaking records for live audiences, and in 2022 they surpassed La Liga in average attendance, but still have not been able to generate the TV ratings within the American audience that compete with other leagues like Liga MX and the English Premier League. But why is that?
For starters, they're providing a great atmosphere for fans inside of America to go watch a game and have a great time. So by no means is this me saying that the MLS is all wrong and that they need to have a complete overhaul to do better. I think that there's a lot of things that they do good, and that there's a lot of things that they do bad. But this is just my 5 things that leads to nobody watching the MLS on TV, and how I think they could improve, and how they are taking steps to improve already. So, for the first reason, I have the lack of star power and money. The league is consistently limited by not being able to bring in high quality talent due to the salary cap and designated player status and the really odd way that MLS transfers work and the finances of general allocated money and all this good stuff. It's not like we're used to with the European league, so I think that hinders them and able to get better players and better talent. Now, they've done great things, getting David Beckham, Gareth Bale, these types of players in that bring attention even from around the world to the sport. However, it's not enough, and I think it's sort of losing its sting. Nobody really cares as much, especially as they know these players are really in their decline. Another issue that this leads to is just the lack of play technically. I mean, the MLS games are honestly super entertaining if you just sit and watch them, because you never know what's going to happen. They're up and down the pitch. There's goals, bad defense. It's crazy. It's honestly an entertaining product in the fact of you don't have the expectation of what's going to come next. However, it's for sure lacking quality and technical ability, which I think that they could improve really just by getting a little bit better players, but then also improving the coaching and standards of play within the league. Reason number 2 is the lack of competition. There is no promotion relegation, and I don't think that's going to solve all the problems immediately. However, that's a big reason you have 28 teams across the league, which already is too many for each of them to play each other within the regular season. So they divide it into 2 conferences, and then each team is only trying to get into the top 50% of their conference. Also, I don't believe winning the conference matters that much. Sure, you get the supporter shield, but as a fan of soccer who doesn't follow the MLS very much, that doesn't seem like a very important thing. The other issue that I have with the MLS is they don't play each other. If you're having power rankings or however you want to work this, LAFC does not have the same season that Austin FC has. They play entirely different teams for the most part. So they have their conference teams that they play, and those are consistent. But outside of that, they make other games which just aren't the same. And then lastly, I think that the way the MLS is structured, there's really no punishment for doing poorly. So you get better draft pick. But coming last place doesn't seem to be too much of a penalty, especially considering you're still in the league, you get the same financial rewards, you have the same opportunity the next year to win the title. It's just boring. So if you're one of the bottom table teams, your season's over as soon as you kind of know that you're not going to make playoffs. It's I don't know. It's just a bad product, and I think that they could do a lot better by just allowing a system of promotion and relegation, and just maybe cut the league in half. You know, have 20 of the best teams, just like they do in England, and allow the other teams to figure it out. There is no reason to do it this way from a perspective of making a good product for the fans. The only reason they would do this is to protect the ownership, but that's a different issue, and we'll get to that in a later video. The third reason the MLS does poorly is their copy-paste branding. So obviously, the MLS has a model that they go into certain cities and towns with where they just automatically have the same template, and then they color it and change the brand to be a little bit different, but it doesn't actually identify the city or the culture that's going on there. There is no team that particularly sticks out to me except the ones that's closest to me. All the teams relatively have the same style, the same everything. The stadiums even look similar. It's not that entertaining as an outside spectator to try and even choose a team that you'd like other than one that's geographically close to you. Even as far as like 2 seasons ago, if you looked at the white jerseys, they were essentially the same thing with different patches. I mean, it's not very much to ask just to allow the teams to express themselves a little bit in their marketing. But even why do they all have Adidas? Why can't it be like the USL, where they have Nike, Adidas, and Hummel, and all these different brands that allow each team to be unique in their own identity and go their own direction in branding, rather than, the same set points? And if you look at what's come out recently with the new Apple TV situation, even then, they've set a specific set of marketing things that each club has to fulfill, which is good. I'm glad there's minimums, but it's terrible that they've had to do that, because that just shows that the teams can't do enough thinking for themselves on how to brand the thing. And ultimately, it comes back to, they just come into each market open wide. Here's some fucking soccer, and they kick the door in and expect you to love it. And if you don't, they're sitting there scratching their heads and they don't know why. Like, well, we put a stadium in, maybe we should move it. It's because there's no identity and history to the club. One of the biggest solutions to this is just to allow each team to pursue their own creative partners. I mean, geez, could we just see more than Adidas jerseys in the league? It's terrible, and I think it's all done for money, just like everything else in the MLS. But like I said, we'll get back to that. Reason number 4, I think, is fixture congestion. So overall, each game pretty much starts at 6:30 p.m. Central on a Saturday, which is terrible if, like I said, you're an outside spectator and you're not going to the game, because I personally would probably watch MLS if I could know every Saturday I'm going to have a whole afternoon of soccer and an evening of soccer, and I could follow the league and watch each team and how the developments are going. But they don't. I also think it would be better to spread the games throughout the week, sort of like the NFL. Personally, not a huge NFL fan. I don't know how many times a Monday night will come around and I won't have anything to watch. I'll be bored, and I just know, because I'm American, I've grown up here, I know the NFL is on. So I end up watching it, and that's just me. I don't even care. So I just could imagine if every general soccer fan in the country knew we had soccer on Mondays and Wednesdays or Thursdays or whatever it is, that day they would just tend to watch it. And lastly, I think this is sort of a mixture of all the things that I've said, but the MLS just doesn't know how to tell a story that will make their fans care. Ultimately, I barely know any of the players that come to the league unless they're one of the superstars that they spend, tons of money on marketing and hyping up. But, just the striker that came up through the academy that's scoring a bunch of goals for the first team now. Highlight those stories, give me something that will allow me to closer connect with the identity of the club. And I'm not talking about through a specific team's Instagram account. Make it available through the league and the broadcasting partners. Do more outside of a paywall, but behind Apple TV, that the fans will care about. Fans around this country are thirsty for soccer. We wake up at 6:30 a.m. on a Saturday to watch games of our favorite teams in England. It's not that much of an ask for us to get around our TVs on Saturdays and watch a soccer game. If it's entertaining, the story is being told, and it's here locally, and we actually have the opportunity to drive down the road and go see a game a couple of times. It's not something that we will ignore if the effort is put in by the teams from the league and the owners to just tell the story. Make it better marketing. Allow the followers to just follow it casually without having to be tuned into the Instagram or log into this one Saturday night game every time. Overall, the MLS has come a really long way. They've focused a ton on developing new players and new markets and new stadiums, and they're doing good things for the country. I'm no means saying this is all bad for them. However, these are things that I think are big problems, things that they don't do well and that they can improve on. And if they were to do this, I think it would raise the stature of soccer in the whole entire country, focus on youth development, get a whole new generation of kids interested. And this could just lead to great things for us. I really hope that we kind of continue our development. Luckily for us, the MLS has already started a lot of these solutions, which I'll be getting to in some further videos from now. So stay tuned and be sure to like and subscribe so you won't miss those in the future.